Hello, friends. My name is Nayaswami Hriman. I'm speaking to you from the Blue Lotus Temple here in Bothell, Washington, just north of Seattle. And I'd like to share with you some thoughts about practical tools for the persistent meditator, hopefully the consistent meditator as well. For many decades, I have taught meditation and teach the meditation teacher training under the Yoga Alliance standards. So this is a lifelong thing for me, and I love it, I enjoy it, and it's a great privilege to share. So I want to share with you some thoughts about how to deepen your meditation, a few little things that I think you might find helpful. It won't be a long laundry list. It'll be very focused. Before I start, though, I want to give two sort of presumptions that are behind what I'm going to share with you. One is that for us, meditation, or the goal of our meditation techniques, is to achieve a state of quietude whereby the body's relaxed but alert, the heart is soft and not plagued by emotions, open, and so on, and the mind is clear and transcendent of restless thoughts. Now, I know that's easier said than done, but I say this because this goal, in other words, in every meditation, our goal can be, I'm not speaking of the end goal of enlightenment or whatever it might be. I'm just talking about the sort of the mechanics of the techniques, so that the goal in each time is to achieve a quietness of mind and body in order to receive whatever it is that our higher mind, our soul, the superconscious mind, intuition, whatever it is there for us to receive. I also want to add that receiving doesn't mean necessarily that some hot idea is going to pop into your head during that phase. Rather, we're exercising the muscle of our sixth sense. That sixth sense is that portal, that channel. It's like having a cell phone number to a helpline. That channel is, by daily meditation and achieving this quiet state of openness, we work the channel, or maybe a tunnel, you'd like the image of boring through a tunnel, in such a way that our life is graced by solutions, inspiration, creativity, vitality, energy, and even mental and physical health. So the end game for my purposes in this video is to help us achieve that quietness of body, mind, and spirit. Now, in the practice of meditation, it's fairly natural that we progress towards that state in what could be identified, what is identified by at least how we teach it here, in three stages. The first stage is when you stop what you're doing, you bring the body online, by energizing or doing yoga postures, various things to both energize but relax in order to withdraw your attention from the periphery of the body and the five senses and anything else going on. Maybe you wear headphones, maybe you sit in a quiet room. That's withdrawing from outer activity. Second phase is, having done that, we focus the mind in whatever technique or techniques that we practice. Watching the breath, Kriya Yoga, mantra, bhakti, whatever it might be. We practice meditation using some form of concentration, some form of focus, whether it be dominant in the heart as in devotion, whether it be dominant in the mind and sense of concentration, or whether it be dominant in terms of the subtle energy of the body and its manifestation as inner sound, light, and movement of energy. In any case, but the third phase of meditation is when the doing subsides in order to enter the state of being. Because otherwise it's still the ego all in control. And so in what I have to say, the goal here is to open our conscious mind to quiet the subconscious mind, to open the conscious mind to the higher mind that Yogananda called the superconscious. It's through our connection with the higher mind of the soul, call it what you want, the Atman, that we achieve connection. We achieve inner guidance. We achieve a sense of belonging, a sense of connection with all of life. Because it's on that level, Vedanta tells us, that all things have their origin. Okay, so what I'd like to share with you is how to achieve a kind of, I call it a mudra, especially in that third phase, a mudra that can help us especially deal with the restless mind. There's a quote in the autobiography of a yogi in which Paramahansa Yogananda says that yoga has for its purpose the calming of the natural turbulence of the mind. And it's natural because from the standpoint of nature, seen as perhaps as an animal body, we need the five senses to be alert for, saber-toothed tigers and looking for food. In other words, we're programmed on the lower level, subconscious especially, to be active and aware. Nothing wrong with that. But the rishis and the great scriptures of East and West tell us that the human body has the potential to transcend the lower mind, the fight or flight, etc., and to achieve a transcendent state, a state that goes beyond the ego-active mind and subconscious influences. And so that's what we're talking about here, is how best to achieve not so much transcendence, but what's necessary to achieve transcendence is the still state of mind and body. Okay? And so what I want to share with you is known in the yoga tradition, though I don't use the term in the Ananda teachings, but it's a correct term, Sambhavi Mudra, which is gazing through the point between the eyebrows. It's referenced in the Bhagavad Gita, in numerous Upanishads and scriptures of India. Now, most of you watching this already know that. But I'll review some of the basics just in case, so that everyone can benefit. Because a lot of meditation traditions and meditation apps out there in the world make no mention of Sambhavi Mudra, no mention of gazing through the point between the eyebrows. So it's by no means universal, even if it seems so to you and I. And so, but I want to add to it some things I don't think you perhaps have thought about or actually experienced. And so Sambhavi Mudra, gazing through the point between the eyebrows, you can begin by taking finger and between the eyebrows, maybe just slightly above. There's the forehead bone there, whatever it's called. There's sort of a flat spot. That's a pretty good place to sort of put some pressure on in order to be aware of it from the inside. And then as you gaze through it, you're not crossing your eyes. What Swami Kriyananda, our teacher and founder of Ananda, would say is you put your arm out, your thumb up. Is that coming through? Yeah, there we go. Here, there's my thumb. And but up a bit. And gaze through this point out at the thumb. Okay? You can raise it a little bit. What I like to do is a couple other things that I've come across. If I look out across the room to the opposite wall and where the ceiling meets, almost it doesn't seem to depend on the size of the room, but I find that sweet spot like that. But more important than my little technique is you can practice and should practice with open eyes. Where, at what point looking up does it feel exactly right? At what point do you enter what I like to call the mudra of listening? Another technique that will help your eyes remain uplifted, but also to give you the feeling and the ability to remain focused, is a little trick I learned. You put your hands out like this so that your 2 fingers are pointing up. And then while gazing up, pull them apart, keep looking up, and see how far you can spread your arms and keep those upraised fingers within your peripheral vision. This is called dilating the eyes. Once you get the idea, you can practice it a number of times, then close your eyes and see if you can hold that dilation of the eyes with that peripheral vision. Okay, so let me digress here for just a moment. You know, sometimes you're trying to remember somebody's name and maybe even where your car keys are, but usually car keys generate a fair amount of tension because you need them right away, so maybe that's not a good example. But trying to remember, oh, what was her name? And so you look up, you cock your head a little bit to the side. It's as if your computer was going to the hard disk to look for a file, right? So this mudra of listening is, you're waiting for an answer, in other words, listening for an answer. It's not literal listening, but quiets the mind. In fact, however, it is listening, because if instead of thinking about something like someone's name, you were listening, you'd do the same thing. What did you say? Or you hear a sound out there, you stop. Okay, so there is a certain mudra, a certain state of mind, a certain position. You look up and you listen. Do you remember those railroad crossings long ago in the country? They looked like this, and it said, stop, look, listen. That's your mudra. Okay, stop, look, and listen. What else happens when you do that? If you notice me carefully, your mouth opens and your tongue relaxes. Now see, your tongue is connected to the narrative mind. Because when I'm talking, my tongue's moving. And so in meditation, if you can relax the mouth, open the mouth just a little bit, and let the tongue relax as you do this mudra, do you see what happens? The whole system shuts down. You're alert, you're quiet, and you're in a very receptive state of being. That is a wonderful trick for you to have. Now, there's another aspect to this, because if I go, that's fine for the being stage of meditation, but in the doing stage, maybe you're watching the breath or practicing Kriya or other things, it will also be true that if you can hold your focus at the spiritual eye, even as you do one or two other things, in other words, a 2 or 3 point focus, will automatically hold at bay the babblings of the subconscious mind and the intrusion of subconscious thoughts popping up from the lower brain into the conscious mind, and thereby disturbing your concentration, let's say in this case on your technique. There's lots of tricks to this. For example, Yogananda, teaching watching the breath, would recommend that you try moving your index finger. Well, all of those techniques are part of giving you a 2 or 3 point focus during your concentration phase in order to hold at bay those restless thoughts. But the key, and I don't think you've ever heard this, is to start the focus at the spiritual eye, again with the mouth relaxed. What I recommend is that you practice just holding at the spiritual eye with eyes closed, as you do normally in meditation, and see how many seconds or how long you can focus there without your inner sight wavering. Whenever your inner sight drops, then that's when the thoughts, it's like this 2 to 3 point concentration, watching the breath perhaps, gazing up, moving the finger, let's say, if that's what you're doing. 2 or 3 point, it creates like a magnetism between the 2 or 3 points of concentration. And that magnetism, sort of like one of those bug zappers, zaps the bugs of those intruding thoughts. And so you need 2 or 3 focal points of interiorized concentration. Now, you could add bhakti to that, or one of those focal points could be the visualization of the eyes of the master, or any number of things. But the key is to practice Sambhavi Mudra and then add those points. And when your eyes drop or your concentration shifts, go right back up and then add watching the breath. Mouth is relaxed, the tongue is quiet and relaxed. Do you see the point that I'm saying? And so this technique is very, very helpful. Now I'm going to check my notes before we finish. You might be interested to know that there are certain signposts when we meditate that indicate the energy of the body is moving inward. And one of those can be that with your hands upraised on your thigh, the hands might start to feel heavy. Another one might be as the prana moves through the body away from the senses and the periphery of the skin, you might begin to feel some tingling feelings on the body. Sometimes even suddenly there's an itchy nose or something like that. If you can stay focused and let the itch or the tingling simply rise and fall like a wave, which is what it is, that's the ideal. Sometimes you just may have to scratch that itch and get it over with and move on, but try to not have your concentration overly disturbed. Okay, so I'm going to bring this to a closure because I want you to remember the key point. Sambhavi Mudra, the eyes up, practice this. Now here's the key to being able to achieve this. It's not just in meditation. You're at a stoplight in your car waiting for the red light. Enter this Sambhavi Mudra. Enter this listening mudra. You're between phone calls. Stop, look, listen. During the day, in other words, what you're trying to do is attune the subconscious, the body, the ego, to getting to know you. It's like getting to know you, getting comfortable, because there's a part of our body-mind ego complex that does not want to lose control. It's the last thing that goes before enlightenment. And so we practice this, but if you don't practice it during the day, learning to be still and know, to be still and listen, to be still and be a seer, one who sees clearly, without the static of emotions and the filters that we place on our perceptions. So if you do this during the day, then when you go to meditate in the morning or at night, what have you, the body-mind ego complex will invite and be open to and willing and happy to sit on the couch with itself, with its best friend, getting to know you. Stop, look, listen. Okay, great souls, I hope you find that very helpful, as I certainly have, and many others. Joy and blessings to you.